Okay, moving on swiftly, that leads us on nicely to our next interview here. This time, giving me a bit of a break. I'm sure you're all dying to hear from somebody else. I'm going to turn over the virtual mic here to Don Jones, a staunch supporter of the HITLAB Symposium and events, chair of the Cardiff Ocean Group, among many other hats he wears. So Don, I'm going to hand over to you to talk to Quentin from Dreem.
Thanks, Jerry, very much. And it was great to see Dave Albert here. I've known Dave since he started. I'm another one of the guys that have been in this space for an awful long time. And Dave's first device was responsible for a medical intervention with my son 13 years ago. So we were very early users and adopters of LiveCore. So great to see him. Today, I've got the great pleasure to introduce everyone to a company called Dreem, and given the appropriate recognition of World Health Day, Dreem is actually a Paris-based company, and I'm introducing Quentin, the CEO of Dreem. Welcome to the HITLAB event here, Quentin.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask a series of questions here about Dreem, starting with the fact that you started off as a device company in the medical device space, and maybe you could tell the little audience of what the mission was then, and then you've made a bit of a pivot of sorts into virtual healthcare, sleep medicine, and so maybe you can outline how you went from device to services.
Yeah, sure. So Dreem started as a device company, and we've been selling devices to monitor and diagnose sleep disorders to academics or to patients directly, and we've been very successful in that. We have a bit more than today 350 research and academic labs using our device, so all the big names, so Stanford, Harvard, MIT, even Columbia. We have also pharma companies using our devices, and we also have a partnership with NASA, who uses 2 devices in space to measure the sleep of astronauts. But at some point, we realized that instead of just building devices, we have a much larger opportunity, which is to rebuild completely the sleep care pathway for patients. And so we decided to move from a device company to a virtual care company, building all the services of a traditional sleep clinic. So we do telehealth, diagnosis, treatment. We ship devices at home for the diagnosis. We ship devices at home for the treatment. And we do everything that sleep clinic do, but remotely and by integrated technology at every step of the way.
Well, that's great, but I think you made one other big change. You also launched the sleep medicine business in, of all places, California, not in France.
Yes, that's right. We decided, so we already sold to company in the US. We already had an office in the US, but we decided to start with patients in the US. We believe that the market is much more mature in the US. And so the traction that we had have been also very strong there. And we decided to start in California right now, and we are expanding progressively in all 50 states.
You know, going from being a device and engineering kind of oriented company into a services company is quite a big change, and you're still doing the devices, but maybe you could tell people, what did you have to change? What did you have to add? What really changed in the organizational structure and outlook of the company when you started to add the sleep practice on top of the engineering and device?
Yeah. So we changed a lot, actually. We added a lot of elements, technology, people. And for example, to start with people, we hired a very strong medical team in the US, the one that is treating patients today. So our chief medical officer, for example, is Tony Mastry. He's from Stanford, and he's not only one of the most renowned sleep physicians in the US, but he's also the former CEO of one of the largest sleep clinic network in California. We also decided we had to adapt the product to go from a device to a world clinic. So we built a lot of different technical elements. And there is also the compliance part. So today we are registered as a sleep clinic. We are reimbursed by all the main payers in California. And so that was also big work to be done before we could actually see and treat patients here in the US.
Maybe you can tell the audience when you launched the sleep clinic in California and what's been happening since. I know you've had some really good results in terms of patient satisfaction and some growth rates. But I want to talk a little bit about how the patients are receiving a virtual sleep practice and how you're getting new patients.
Yeah, the traction has been huge since the beginning. Since we launched today, we double our number of patients every 2 months. We have more than 50 million lives covered in California. Patient satisfaction is very high. Actually, our competitor, which is standard of care, traditional sleep clinic, have some pretty low standards. And so in comparison, making care at the same time much more efficient, much more convenient, and much more accessible. Well, we've done great in that. And yeah, we believe that today we understand why doctors want to refer patients to us. We also can get patients with direct to patient marketing. We have coverage from payers. We have a lot of doctors willing to work for us. And so we believe that we have a very clear path to build one of the largest sleep player here in the US.
Doubling your patient volume every 2 months is quite a feat. Were you surprised?
Yeah. Yes, I mean, we had some very good feedback in the user research, and we saw that what we did was at the same time a fit for patients, for doctors, for payers, but we had to work a lot to catch up with the volume, and that's one of our big challenge, is to grow the team here in the US, is to scale the tech, to automate everything as we can to be able to match the demand.
Maybe you could just highlight some of the patient interactions that are different in the virtual practice. And I think I understand that you're not only diagnosing the patients and using telehealth as a tool, but you're doing a lot of other things virtually in the process in terms of how you're getting therapies and monitoring those therapies and even how the therapies get to the patients.
Yeah, we can take a few examples. For example, to be diagnosed today in a traditional sleep clinic, you need to sleep in a certified sleep clinic with a clunky device called polysomnography. And before that, you need to have a meeting with a sleep specialist, and before that with the general practitioner. This whole step takes 6 months, and we can reduce that into 5 days. So we ship a device that is equivalent to polysomnography, and that is much easier to use, that the patient can use for diagnosis at home. And the doctors get the results and can have a diagnosis made to the patient very quickly. For the treatment as well, we provide coaching for all along the journey, so the patients stay compliant to their treatment. We also try not to use sleeping pills as much as possible. Sleeping pills is not recommended to treat insomnia. CBT is recommended. So we have a digital cognitive behavioral therapy program that the patient can use at home. And at every step of the way, we just look at how healthcare is done today. We listen to our medical advisory board to patient, and we try to rebuild it in a more efficient way.
That's quite great. It's been really interesting following Dreem over the last year and a half or so. I think for those of you interested in understanding more about what's happening, you can turn to Impact. Dreem is a member of Impact, and that's a trade group for virtual first healthcare providers run by the Digital Medicine Society. Looking forward to our next meeting. Jerry, I'm going to give it back to you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks so much, Don, and thanks so much, Quentin, for coming on, and really terrific interview there. If you want to, like Don said, learn more about Dreem and the network, there is info in the chat. And Quentin, Dan, if you want to put any other links in the chat for the audience to check out, please feel free to do so. That's what we're all here for, to learn from each other and get connected and stuff. But thank you, Don, for a wonderful interview with Quentin there.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so we're at the top of the hour now. We are 1/3 of the way through a very, again, packed schedule of the 3-hour Digital Health Symposium here. Just before we get on to our next panel, I just want to remind everybody that we will be having, as mentioned, a post-symposium networking, post-discussion breakout session with a workshop led by Moses and Singer for startups. So please feel free to jump on afterwards at 2 o'clock if you have time. That's 2 o'clock Eastern, and we'll be around for at least an hour, continuing conversations and so forth. There is actually a book giveaway. So first person to answer in the chat for a copy of The Innovation Mindset from Lorraine Marchand, again, a book that Stan has already gotten through and is raving about. So the question here is, who said talking to your phone, that's the future of medicine, quote unquote? Eric Topol, Thomas Frist, Roger Brown, or Maria Hernandez, all MDs. Give everybody 10 more seconds to answer that one. And the answer is, of course, Dr. Eric Topol, the quote unquote father of digital health, if you like. And I believe we have the winner already in. It's Dr. Disruptive. I'm sure that is just a handle name, not your real name. But congratulations, Ansley, and the team will be in touch with you as to how you can get a copy of Lorraine's book.